want to keep this conversation going regarding this topic, because I feel like I've seen immigration my whole life. I've discussed it in classrooms with my teachers. We've discussed it with peers because it's the community that I lived in. So I'm more than happy to share my perspective, because you might have the way that you see immigration might be different from mine. So just wanted to share a little bit of my point of view. So yeah, like the movie stated, I do come from an immigrant family. Remember my grandma, the one that comes out in the animation. Her father was part of the Braceros program a very long time ago, and so he was an immigrant as well. Her and her spouse, my other grandpa, they'd never crossed the border. They were comfortable with the life that they wanted here, so they stayed. But my grandparents on my dad's side, both of them lived in the United States. They were both immigrants, also without documents. My grandpa on my dad's side was able to get his residency after a very, very long time. And but he moved to Jalisco so that he can pass his last days there. He passed away actually last year. So yeah, my dad, when he moved, like the movie mentioned, my grandma was very ill. She had cancer. So she was in her last moments. So my dad decided that it was time to see his mom again after 7 years of being here in Yucatan with my mom. A few months after he arrived, she passed away. She passed away in 2005. I was never able to meet her in person. I guess I would have to wait for the afterlife for that. But yeah, she lived there her whole life, and that's where she moved to give her kids a better life. That's where all my uncles and aunts have been ever since they moved there. A few of them were able to get residency through their spouses or through their kids. A few of them were not eligible. 2 of them were born there. So we have a little bit of everything. As for when my dad moved, he went in with fake documents. That was the way that he felt comfortable. He just was told, you need to learn this name, this date of birth, this information. If they ask you, this is what you say. And that's how he crossed. That's what he felt comfortable with. My siblings, like Elizabeth, told her side. So my sister Effie and my brother Angel also went through the same thing. They did it together because they were little. They were like 5 and 7. So it was more convenient to move them both at the same time so that they can be comfortable with each other and they can, be there for each other. They were just kids. So they were told, this lady is going to be your mom. And if you say otherwise, you guys are going to be separated. So you have to say that this is your mom. So since they were little, I guess they didn't really question it. They just said, okay. And they wanted to be with my dad as well. So that's what kept them going. For Elizabeth, it was a little bit more difficult. Like we heard from her. I remember her throwing up. I remember being worried for her. I remember that Monday when she arrived, she looked skinnier than usual because Elizabeth's always been a skinny person. So she looked skinnier. She looked shaky. My siblings hardly knew my dad. My little brother was 2 years old when my dad moved to the U.S. So they were very little. We were practically with a stranger. I was the only one that can remember him. So I eased them into, this is dad. We're waiting for mom, and we kept waiting for her to arrive. She refused to move from Tijuana until my dad called her and said, I have all four children with me. That's what she did. She waited for that Monday. My sister arrived and she made the move. She was also going to cross with fake documents, but the nerves got the best of her. She panicked. She refused. She wanted to try a different way. She said, I'd rather cross the river, the desert, or the mountains and not risk getting caught to see you guys. She didn't tell us this when we were kids, obviously. She told us when we were grown up and we started asking like what was her experience crossing, and that's what she told us. She also told us about how the cross was very difficult. She had it was a group because they always cross in a group. The guide had them ready. They were crossing. They actually went through the mountains, so they had a lot of ground to cover. The first night they were fine. The second night they got raided, so a lot of her group got picked up, and she was very, very scared. They had to hide in bushes. They had to hide anywhere that they can find. She was very terrified. All she had with her was a little Nokia phone where she would call my dad to tell her, oh, I'm here, I'm almost there, we already went through this, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. Sometimes she would call and say, Angel, I can't do this, it's too hard, it's too difficult, especially on the third night, I think, where they had advanced a lot. Again, they were almost getting caught, and she had to run. They all had to run, and everything that they had walked for a day, they went all the way back, and they got lost. They lost all of their supplies, their food, their water, their clothes, their shoes, everything. She said, at that night, it was only four of them. On that night, she also almost experienced sexual assault by one of the people that were crossing with her. The guide practically took her with her, and it was just them two. The other ones got picked up a little after that because they didn't want to keep going. The only reason why she begged the guide to keep going with her was because of us. She knew that we were already with my dad, and she wanted to be with us again. The I think a night or two before they reached San Diego, they were already dehydrated. They didn't have food, and the guide was ready to. She told her, "This is it. I can't keep going." And while they were having this conversation, they heard a motorcycle, and the guide told my mom, "I'm gonna jump in front of it, and they're gonna stop. If this is ice, we're done for. And I'm sorry, but we can't go any longer because we don't have supplies, and we still have a long way to go." So thankfully, it was just a good Samaritan going through the mountains. They gave them water, gave them some fruit, and that's how they were able to make it to San Diego. So I saw my mom again on a Saturday afternoon. I remember we were out with my dad and he got the call. And I was excited, super happy to hear that my mom we were gonna see my mom that day. We went home, waited for her, and I remember when she arrived, she was covered in scratches and bruises. She was super skinny. As a kid, I think I was more excited to see her and didn't really ask her or mind that she had all of these bruises in her body. And we just went on. And I think what hits me the most about knowing how my family crossed is knowing how I crossed, because I was picked up with one of my aunts that's a resident. She picked me up from the airport. We went out for food. We went out shopping. We waited in line. They asked me, what's your name? What's your date of birth? I said, go ahead. And I crossed. That's it. All because I was born there. All because I had the proper documents. to just go on about my day. And I think that's the hardest part about hearing, their stories, that I didn't have a scratch, I didn't have a bruise, I wasn't scared, I was fed, I was having fun with my aunts. We were singing, we were sharing stories on the ride. I slept, you know, completely different stories. I have the privilege of being a US citizen and a Mexican citizen, and being able to choose where I want to do my life. If I want to do it here, if I want to do it there, it's up to me. And I think um, as people, we don't think much of what kind of privileges we have, even if it's just a small one. We can get up, I can go over there and just get a job. The times that I visit them, I was able to get a job, just a temp job. Submit my application. Here you go. You start this day. We don't think about the people that don't have that opportunity. We just go about our day, and that's good. We have that privilege. We have that power of just going about our day and not having to worry about if you're going to get stopped by the police and it's going to be a racist cop and it's going to deport you, or it's going to hold you in contempt just because they think you don't belong there. No. I didn't get to think about these privileges that I have when I was a kid. Even when we just moved, we were just going about our life. I think LA is a very safe space from my experience for immigrants. My whole family has lived there. Thankfully, none of them have gotten deported. All of them have been safe. If they get stopped by a cop, they don't fear getting deported. They just fear a ticket, so I'm very thankful for that. But I have friends that didn't go through the same thing. I have friends whose parents did get deported, whose parents were just, that's it. It was their time to just be sent back to a country that they haven't been in for a long time, that they probably don't know anymore. So it's very difficult to think about that. I was able to notice it more once I applied for college. So when I applied for college, I didn't do much thinking. All I had to worry about is having a good letter, good letters of recommendation, my personal statement, my SATs, my parents' taxes that they've done every year, have those, updated, file them through our financial aid, FAFSA, and everything. I just submitted documents. That's all I had to do. And I went, didn't look back until my sister Elizabeth tried doing the same thing when she graduated 2 years after me. She was asked, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" She can't put anything. Her fear of the college knowing that she is not a U.S. citizen was too much for her, that she just didn't want. She wasn't eligible for a DACA, so that she didn't even have that to support herself for work, for school, for nothing. So she did what most immigrants do, which is get a fake document that says you're a U.S. citizen, who's probably fraud and fraudulent, and it's not legal to do. But that's what she had to do to start working, and she worked. She worked for 3 years. Right now she's not working because she just had a baby, but she had to do that. She had to get a fake social so she can work. And Effie didn't want to do that because she didn't want to risk it. When she graduated high school, she didn't want to risk doing that, so she was looking for jobs that were paying cash, and that's what she did for a while. My little brother graduated 3 years ago. Same thing. He was willing to go to community college, and pay for it. Community college is a little bit cheaper, but it was difficult for him to work and go to school at the same time. And he still wasn't meeting ends meet because inflation and things have gotten more expensive and all of these things. So again, I've been very, very blessed with everything that I've been given, with the opportunities that I have, and just being able to come here. This is the biggest privilege that I have right now, being able to choose to live in Mexico. I'm able to do my taxes here, get a good credit, get my social here. I'm able to get a job, you know? And because I know English, I even get more privileges because of the jobs for tourism and all this stuff. Like then that gets paid even better. So I'm very thankful that I can do that. And the main reason why I chose to live here, because that's a big question for my mom, you know, why are you living in Mexico instead of the US? I tried. I went to visit her every so often. I think it's the first time that I came was for vacation when I was in college. 2017, I was still in college. That's the winter break, Christmas break. That's when I came. I came for 2 weeks. I felt like I was here for 2 days, and I wanted to come back because I've always wanted to come back. When my grandpa died in 2011, I wanted to come back to see him, but my dad said no. If I let you go to Mexico for your grandpa's funeral, you're not gonna come back. You're not gonna come back, so you're not gonna leave. And he didn't let me. And for a long time, I gave up asking my parents for visiting Mexico because of this. And when I was in college, well, it's my money, it's my time now. I'm still in school, so you can't tell me no because I have to come back for school. So that's why I decided to come every December. Since 2017, 2018, I came again. That time I did a whole month and a half. I was here with my grandma for a very long time. We started getting along. We started doing more things with my family, more events, more tradition. I get to experience more of the rich culture that we have here. And so when I graduated college in 2019, right as I was finishing my last final exam, that same night I got on a plane and I told my mom, I will be back in 3 months. I did not come back in 3 months. I was actually able to see her again in November of 2020 because, when November came, I told her, "Oh, but December is coming, so I'm going to stay for the holidays." And then I put another excuse, and then March hit, and then COVID just started, and no flights were leaving. Everyone was scared, and all of these things. So I wasn't able to see her until that November. I was actually pretty scared flying with the COVID still going on, but my mom, she's like, I need to see you. It's been way too long. You need to come home. So I did. I went home. Again, I tried. I got a job there. I was doing okay. And it just didn't feel like it was my home anymore. That's my parents and my sisters. But ever since I moved out for college, I had a different home, and it was my college. And when I got here and living here for a whole year, this became my home. So I just felt at peace. I felt good. It felt like it was the right thing to do to just settle here. And ever since I tried going back and visiting my parents, it just feels like that I'm just there visiting, and that's my parents' home, and this is mine. So another reason is practically the economy here. It's getting much better. Um, I think about my retirement. Obviously, I'm way too young maybe to think about retirement, but I don't know how retirement works here in Mexico. So I want to have a good investment, a good something that support me. And I've always wanted to bring something to my community. Like I said, when I was little, I got inspired by the midwife for bringing health to women in that sense, for gynecology, obstetrician, and things like that. But as I got older, I feel like the kind of help that they need is more mindfulness, more mental health, things that bring them together as women in the community. Because I feel like the way that we grow up, we're always told that we have to be against one another because who knows? maybe they're criticizing you on the way that you live and you don't like it. But I think the women in my community need that a lot, and we they're judged by everything that they do, the way that they have children, the way that they don't want to have children, everything, the way that they want to work, they don't want to work, and stuff like that. So I think I want to bring a safe space for them, for me, just for anyone that needs it. I'm very focused on women, but obviously, I've always thought that men also need this safe space. So I wanted to bring that to the table as well. It's all just a rough draft. I'm very young. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna provide this. And the reason why I thought of a ranch is because, at least for me, it brings me peace. It brings me peace just to be in the woods and seeing all these animals, uh, the birds, the different kind of birds that live here. And a lot of women and a lot of men here are very, like, they've grown with the whole ranch and animals and stuff. So I feel like it's a good thing to provide, a good thing to focus on, so I can be able to provide this safe space for them. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the things that wants me here, the economy and the investments and the things that I can do here for my community. And another thing that I wanted to share with you guys is I wanna bring awareness to what's happening in a lot of communities, a lot of countries, especially Latino countries, where a lot of U.S. citizens are migrating to them. So they're moving there, they're migrating, but they're not contributing to the way that they should. They come here and they just settle. They settle. They start buying. They start investing. Obviously, something that I want to do as well, but they don't consider themselves a U.S. citizen. They only consider themselves visitors, because at any time they can just get up. If it doesn't work here, they can just get up and leave. And unfortunately, is their stay in the meantime is creating a lot of gentrification. It's creating a lot of rises of cost of living here for the native people. And it's crazy. It's crazy because I know I'm doing the same thing for moving here and also being a US citizen, but I feel like, and it's not to just justify myself, but I went through a process of becoming a US citizen thanks to my mom. I'm sorry, a Mexican citizen thanks to my mom for naturalizing me here. And as soon as I got here, I went and see how I can pay for my taxes, how I can contribute to the society here. What can I do? And a lot of people that are moving here from the US are just staying here as long-time tourists. They're just long-term tourists. They're not part of the community. They just here for a longer vacation and stay, which is great. It's great because that's what we want essentially in everywhere in the world. You can just go and decide, you know what, this isn't working for me. Why can't I move to another place of the earth and just be there? Why does it have to be so difficult to go through all of this process of immigration and all of this questioning just because you want to be somewhere that brings you peace? You want to be somewhere that just you think is right for you. And so yeah, like why can't we see immigrants as people that are just doing that, moving to get a better life? That's it. That's all they're doing. Moving to a better life, moving to get something for their children, something for their parents, their spouses, family members, anybody, or even for themselves. They want to do that for themselves. That's also great. We just want to acknowledge how different a Mexican immigrant is treated, or any kind of immigrant is treated in the US versus how they're treated here in Mexico as an immigrant. Here as an immigrant, a US immigrant just is treated as that. They're a tourist, they're here. even though they live here for a long time, they're still considered someone that's a tourist. That's it. They're considered somebody that brings something to the economy. When practically the Mexican citizens are doing the same thing in the United States. They're working people. They're people that are paying their taxes. They're people that are contributing in some sort of way, and yet we see them as what? Why do we have to see them that way? I think it's very unfair to place judgment on someone that you don't know. And I think we've seen in recent years, in recent history, how our country has been treating immigrants, how our country is deteriorating when it comes to immigration. We are going back instead of moving forward. We keep building borders, we keep building this barrier between us versus them, when it's just us. At some point, this was all just land, everything has been immigration, everything. The United States started with immigration. They were fleeing from British monarchy. So it's like, I can't understand why our prejudice has made us hate each other so much for so many years when we know where we come from. And so I hope that this story, my family story, or anybody that you can think of, because I'm sure you guys have met an immigrant in your family at some point in your life, that we come in mind when you guys are voting, when you guys are getting, elected officials in the House of, Congress, Senate, presidency, or even just people in your own communities, in your own towns. Like, because even if you say maybe my vote doesn't count, but everything counts, especially when it comes to putting yourself in the shoes of an immigrant, of someone that's a minority in your country, because you know your own privileges, but you don't know what other people have suffered through just to be where they are. So I'm very thankful that you guys took the time to come here in this space and listen to me say a little bit of what I think of this world and about this topic. If you guys have any questions, I'm willing to answer them as well. If you guys want me to say something else, I can say something else too. So
Thank you so much, Evelyn. This is so touching. You're great, and you're so generous for sharing with us your story, so personal, so amazing. And so, I think we all know now more about the experience that immigrants have. And I just want to share with all of you before opening the floor for questions or for comments for Evelyn, that Evelyn's story, even though all the suffering, are the successful stories. There are many immigrants that die trying to do the same thing that they have done, and that doesn't lessen the pain and all the suffering of the ones who arrived there. But just remember how many people have died just trying to have a better life. So thank you so much, Evelyn. Thank you everyone for being here. And now, I don't know if someone wants to or write a question or just open your mic and ask a question. Maybe you can raise your hand if you want to comment something. Morad?
Before Morad goes, I just want to thank you so much, Evelyn. Shared that with us and was very, very moved by your story, and hearing the details of the thing and the situation is in understanding the problem that we have here in this country. So thank you very, very much. Just want to really thank you for that. And then Morad.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you, Evelyn, for your courage and for articulating a very important point. And I speak as an immigrant myself. I was not born in this country. And I think it's important to draw a distinction, which the film we saw drew in a very nuanced and very fine way, because you are there, you're a US citizen, you can come to the United States anytime you want, but your family is here and they are either naturalized or permanent residents or undocumented, whatever. But so the equation is exactly inverted. And I think that that juxtaposition is often missed by many people who are not familiar with the topic. I don't want to be long. I want to just make three particular points, because everything you've said, in some ways, in a different way, but comparable way, I've experienced too. I came to this country to study. You were a student. And I came here to study, but to return to my home country. And then I ended up staying here because a return to my home country is unthinkable now or even before. And I'm deeply grateful. I'm a US naturalized citizen now, and I'm deeply grateful for this country. That's given me everything. Some of my dearest friends, some of our dearest friends. I think the great, how shall I say, the great potential mistake that is being made on this side in the United States, because we keep talking about opportunity, is to convey to the rest of the world as if that opportunity is without cost. And your film and your comments and your very, very open, very transparent sharing of your life story just shows us how big the cost is for that opportunity, far bigger than for most individuals in this country who are born here. That's point one. Point two, as I was listening, the film was just magnificently made. I just loved the way and the beauty of the animation is it takes away your focus on wanting to focus on one particular character or another. You focus on the storyline. So as I was listening to it, I was saying to myself, how can this have a bigger audience? How can this be spread? More people need to know, even if they disagree, even if they have a particular perspective. And I think on that point number two is to try and get this film to as early an audience as possible. I mean, like middle school children, high school children, to expose them to the idea. And the third thing that I wanted to say is that very often, and Adriana both and Annie have both said it in a way, but I want to really emphasize it. Not all these comparable stories, and there are hundreds of thousands of them still evolving as we speak. Not all of them have as hopeful a note in it as you have. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that you had two amazing parents, one of whom says, okay, I'll take the kids. And your mother said, I'm not coming until I know all of you are together. And even then, she wouldn't take the risk as you've described it. I don't want to paraphrase everything you said so beautifully. She was so courageous, risked her own life to come across. And I think that's an enduring and compelling story for the times. It is timeless, really, because it will stand. And that's the core community that we all have. Thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Actually, the producers, Carlos and Jorge, are actually working to distributing this as a core material for high school classrooms, so that there is a project that's being worked on for that. Some of the viewings have been in schools, education centers as well in the US, because that's our targeted audience. Primarily just spread it all over in the United States. Every state that would allow it will go and show this movie.
And if I can add something as well about that, Jorge and Carlos, the directors, are working on that. They are doing a very hard work, but as things happen, Netflix or all these streaming companies, they don't want to have the movie scene. So they have doing a really very, very hard work of going university, colleges, high schools to try to have these movies seen. And if someone wants or knows a college or a community that maybe want to have a screening, we can also do that, and I can share with you all, and we are sharing that after our sessions, their contact numbers, so you can contact them and maybe have a screening. Thank you, sorry. And Evelyn, please continue if someone else have a comment.
Well,
Yeah,
Adriana,
if
can you
anybody
mention
else.
just about that?
We don't hear you, Annie, sorry.
Oh, you can't hear me right
Yes.
now? Hear me now? How about now? Better? I've just said, Adriana, can you share about the award that the film won?
Yes, sure. And we congratulate Evelyn before we started. The movie just won the best animation movie in the equivalent of Oscar prizes, awards here in Mexico. So they just won this award on Sunday. But even though the theme of the movie, it's difficult for streaming companies. But thank you. But I'm sure a lot of people will see this movie. We will do an effort, everyone, so everyone can see it. So if someone else has a comment or a question?
May I ask a question?
Sure, Murad.
I was wondering, given everything you've shared, Evelyn, whether you would feel comfortable sharing your contact details, email or whatever else is used these days, so that from this community, people can be in touch with you and you can decide whether you want to be in touch with them to support what you're doing, to have there are many ways of doing that. That's one thing. And the other question I wanted to pose to Adriana is that there are many Hispanic student organizations at colleges and community colleges, and both the first part and this part is all directed or not directed, it's not right, it's focused on the Latinx community. So one could find an entree for them to sponsor an evening and everybody watch this movie. So I'll be quiet and listen to your answers. Thank you.
Yes, I can share an email if you guys like. I don't want to really share my social media and stuff because primarily one of the reasons why this film was made in animation is to protect the identities of my family. So it's also the reason why you only see my first name. So yeah, if you guys would like an email, I can give you guys one.
Or we can share Carlos and Jorge if you feel more comfortable, Evelyn. I think that's a better idea. And they can, through them, you can contact Evelyn. I think that's better. And I'm so sorry, Natalie, I didn't see you that you were going to share. Please go ahead.
This is Natalie Ballian. It's very nice to be here. I am totally moved. I'm on Lake Chapala. I'm in Ajijic, near Guadalajara. I'm curious where you are, and I would like to help you any way I could. My father retired here. He's gotten older and he's in his bed most of the time. We have nursing care by some lovely ladies that have become family. And I've been doing this, practicing with this group for a few years, and I have a couple other groups that I'm practicing with, learning about our white privileges. I'm educating myself, and well, I was born in Mississippi, the deep South, and my family is there, and I have really, I'm kind of traumatized. I'm trying to smarten my father up, so to speak. I've been angry. He's chosen the more privileged life, and I do live in a fraccionamento with some people that are just doing just exactly what you said, just come to be here comfortable, and they're not really embracing the culture. And it hurts so bad. I just feel like I just don't want to hang out with my own kind of people sometimes. And I really, I don't know what I'm going to say, Evelyn. I just want you to know that I'm here. And
Thank you.
fell last week. I have a black eye, and I on cobblestones, which a lot of people around here do. We have some streets that are paved. Our main roads are paved, but I didn't want to miss this. So thank you for telling the story, and I want to continue. Thank you very much to Annie and Adriana. I do practice in the Plum Village tradition. I have been ordained. I'm an Order of Interbeing person. I know I still have a lot to learn. I have ancestral teachers. My mother, my grandparents were all teachers. In Southern California, my mother's in Huntington Beach of some 50 some odd years. And both my grandparents taught at a community college in Decatur, Mississippi. And I had a great grandfather who was a Methodist minister. And he used to take me across the tracks to visit with the people of other color. I learned at a very young age that there was a lot of things just not right. And I'm retired now, and I do have some time, and I can try to help out. Natalie bowing out. I may have more some other time to say, but this is what I'm thinking right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalie. That means a lot. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to acknowledge how privileged we are because we feel that, we've had it rough. I feel like everybody has had it rough. And we always think about privilege being powerful, money, and having everything, but no, we have little privileges that we can view every day in our life, and that's something I feel like if you're learning about yourself, if you're getting better for yourself and for your family, that's where it starts. You just want to, I here in Mexico, a lot of people say, I was born like this and I'm going to die this way. I hate that. I hate that a lot because no, we come here to learn from each other. We come here to empathize with each other. We are a community. We're human. We're the human race. We can do a lot of things, like crazy things together. And yet we divide ourselves by color, by race, by everything, social classes, by everything, which is, it makes it more difficult for us to be one big just race, one big community, But I'm thankful for the people that try to make the change, not just say, oh, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna change for this, but and don't do anything. They're just, but if you're doing something, and for whatever little it is, but you're doing it, and that's great. I'm very thankful. I hope you're enjoying everything in our culture here in Mexico. I know I enjoy it, so thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. My father brought me to Puerto Vallarta when I was about 18, and he met someone that showed us around, and I felt that I wanted to live in Mexico. So I'm glad and happy to be here, that it worked out this way. Natalie bowing out.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. Someone else? I don't know. Someone wants to say something to Evelyn?
Nilu would like to speak if possible.
Hi, I'm offline, off camera, but I really appreciated listening to your story, and I wondered if you might tell us a little bit about unless I missed it, I'd like to know how your family members are who were in the story and how you are doing. And I think that's so great. You want to be a healer, and I think you'll be a wonderful one. You sound like you already are one, but I was wondering if you might like to tell us how the different people in the story are right now.
Of course. So my grandma, it's 83 this year. She's still going strong. She lives in Tonga. I am in Merida at the moment. So I'm in the city just for work, and I go visit her every weekend or whenever I can. It's only like an hour away from here, so I can see her very, very, very often compared to my siblings, of course. My siblings are very well. They're all working right now in their own things, either for work. Like I said, my little brother's working with my dad currently. My other two sisters, sorry, they became moms. So have priorities as mothers right now. So it's great. It's great to see that the family is growing as well. My parents are also doing well. They're still in the same place that I left them when I came here. So my dad is actually thinking of maybe moving back here. He's also very stressed out on how everything is playing out in the States. So he's ready to also retire and just come live here for the time that he has left. And he loves my grandma like a mom, so he wants to see her again. And my sisters do too, but the United States is our home. Like Elizabeth said, they want to come here, but to visit, and they can't do that right now. But hopefully they get to do that soon. So we're all doing very well, thankfully. I think that we recorded this about 5 years ago now, so it's been a while.
Wow, thank you for letting us know. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Someone else? I just want to comment that I have been living in the United States for 13 years, but I'm here in Mexico City, and I'm here more and more often because I feel exactly as Evelyn. Every time I come to my country, it's so rich in culture. And I was telling them before that I can't be mad or be sad anymore in English. So, it's a privilege to be able to come, as Evelyn was telling, to come here and go back there whenever I want. Even though that I had a struggles for the green card and I wasn't able to leave the country for many, many months or sometimes years, still it was from a privileged position, completely different than the position that most of immigrants have. So I hear you, Evelyn, I feel you, and I admire you. I don't know if someone else have something else to share with us. Camille, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Adriana. And thank you so much, Evelyn, for sharing your story, your heartfelt story and of you and your family. And I feel so much, I've gained so much knowledge and feel maybe I can be a little bit wiser in my actions and in my perceptions. And so appreciate the vulnerability that you've had to be able to share your story, to be able to share it with all of us, will only make us better people. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course, I'm very thankful that you guys took the time as well to, again, listen in. Chris, I did see your message. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to listen. I think that's something that we need to do with different communities, not just the immigrant community. There's a lot of vulnerable communities out there that need our help. And if we can be the change that they need, I think we should put our little grain of salt.
Anybody else have one last question before we wrap up? Okay, well, I also want to say that just as a reminder, you'll get the video, but you won't have the film on the video because it is not it is out for distribution. You know, they're trying to find places to show it, so it's not available on our recording. I think that Adriana's going to put the filmmakers' information in the chat, maybe.
Yeah,
And that way, if you want to find out about about screenings or set up a screening, you can do that through the directors that Adriana is going to put in there. Our next session will be with the third person in the film, and we don't have a date for that, as Adriana said, but that'll be coming up in October, probably in the early part of October.
and yes, and I want to add that for the third story, and that's important because it's a different point of view. The person who's going to share with us, he has been deported. So he's going to talk from the point of view of a deported person and how that experience was, and how, because it's also very difficult for people who has been deported to be again in Mexico, because Mexico is not the perfect country as well, and people are very, very reluctant with one another, and especially there is a very hard point of view about the people who immigrated to the United States. So that point of view, it's also very, very important to hear about that. And he's an activist and he's a filmmaker now himself. So I hope you can join us and have that last point of view of this series.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall, that he was one of those people who wasn't familiar with Mexico because he'd been in the US since he was young. So he went back to a country that he did barely know. So it's a good perspective to learn about.
Yes, exactly.
What else? Is there anything else before we finish? Anybody have any last words to say or share?
And maybe you, Evelyn, if you have something more than maybe, I don't know, ways that we can like contribute to you direct, I don't know, whatever you want, if you want something, if not, we can just wrap up.
No, I think on my side, I think I said everything. Again, if you guys do want to get in contact with me, let Adriana and Annie know, and we can work something out. So I can provide you with like an email or something. You guys can send me anything.
And if you have an organization, Evelyn, that you want people to maybe donate to or could support, you could put that in the chat or let us know. We'll send it out in the follow-up email. So,
I think as in terms of organizations, I have never been like I don't know many. The only one that comes to the top of my head is MOST. It's motivating our students through experience. And it's actually the organization that helped me get into college. So they also gave me a scholarship and they helped me fill out all of my applications. And they're still very, very active to this day. And that's their goal. They also only focus on women. Because I think that's another like reason why I'm also focused on women, just because we have a long ways to go in terms of equality in any country.
Sure, we can find out after, Evelyn, about that specific organization, and we can share that with our with the people who is in Make It Visible list, email list. So thank you, everyone. We will have a.
I'm going to invite a
yeah.
bell. Okay. Invite a final bell and just share the merit for our time together. So let's go back to actually leave this. So from this time we've spent together, may our practice and our hearts expand and grow and flow out into the world in ways that can be of benefit to people everywhere, beings everywhere, and especially those who are suffering and struggling. May our practice touch them in some small or large ways.